Good morning, listeners, friends, colleagues. We're here still in Munich, and we've got a very, very special guest here with us today. I won't say exactly who it is straight away, but immediately that we finish here, he's rushing off to Paris, where he's performing live tonight. So he's very, very familiar with a microphone and very, very well-known character. So I'm now going to let him introduce himself with a line from one of the songs that he sings.
Well, let me please introduce myself. I would say I'm a man of wealth and taste, which is the song I will perform tonight, Sympathy for the Devil, which is one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs, and I think a very a great, and punchy songs that from Mick Jagger. And yes, I'm Olivier Bijaoui. I've been in the handling 40 years. I took some rest for a period of time, after working hard, and these 2 years gave me the opportunity to improve my capacities in playing music, and especially taking over a music school, and give me 2 years of training in playing guitars, playing saxophone, playing drums.
We'll come to that, but I think that the Sympathy for the Devil, what a beautiful tag. I think that suits you with what's happened, and I'm sure people will relate to that. It's absolutely superb. Now, Olivier, thank you so much for coming on board and coming to see us today. Now, can I ask you, why did you agree to come on the podcast?
Well, I think, first of all, being in front of a good friend is always a pleasure. And friendship is something that has to be present in this business and environment. Now, I think that today's podcasts are certainly some of the stuff that people want to watch, people want to see. It's great to be here, It's more of, the pleasure to be together and be able to talk about some other things than only, one of the usual stuff we talk about.
Yeah, no, it's good. And one of the main reasons we're doing it is so that people actually get to know a little bit more about the person behind the position, something unusual that they didn't know. Now they know you're a singer. You're a musician, which we'll come to a little bit later, but also about how did you start? How did you actually come into the business?
Well, quite a long time ago, 1979. My father was formerly a freight forwarder, then became a handler with a very tiny company in Paris. And in the early 80s, he told me that I need to start working at the same time I do my study, just to make some money, make sure I understand what life is all about. And so that's what I did. I started with SFS, family company, 25 employees in 1980. And onwards, for 36 years with SFS, which became AMR Services, then WFS, then finally left in June 2016 with 20,000 employees on board. So long handling life story.
Not a bad track record, though, huh? Now, you're one of the few characters in the business that probably everybody's heard of, knows you, would recognise you. Now, when you started and you came in, obviously your dad gave you I'm sure, a lot of motivation and a lot of opportunities. Is there anybody that when you started you would look back on now and you'd think they were a really good mentor, or they gave you a good step up, or they helped you? Who would you say were the key people?
Well, the first one was mostly my father, because obviously he was a cargo man, and I guess that's what I am too. I'm a cargo man, and although I did ground handling in many instances around the world with WFS, but really my origin is cargo, and my father was a cargo man. I think he gave me the virus, and he was my mentor, originally, and I have to thank him for bringing me in that business. And helping me growing, that's one. So he's the main mentor of my business life, put it this way. Then, of course, you meet so many people in the airline environment, and that start to trust you. You're a small guy. You're just, have a tiny company, and so I remember all the people, from several airlines, and for starting with Air India, who was the first airline to trust us to do cargo handling, and I can't cite names. That would be probably unfair to some of, because I would forget some of them. But all these guys that trust me when I was a little guy,
Yeah.
I owe them a lot for this, and I remember all these airlines that trusted me at that time.
Okay, no, it's very good, and I know that you also respect what they did, and
Of course.
you're a man with a long memory. One thing I noticed, and I've said it to you before, people probably wouldn't know what it is. The little red mark.
Our little red mark is what we call in France Légion d'honneur. Légion d'honneur is kind of about what is the highest distinction in France, which is given by the President of the Republic, which I get in 2009 for, put it this way, my achievement as an entrepreneur, growing, the companies I was running from a very tiny family company to a very large one. And at that time, the Republic President in France was Nicolas Sarkozy, and he gave me this distinction. It's kind of the same thing in the UK with the Knights. So it's...
That's a nice one, huh?
Well, it's okay. I enjoy being, of course, a legionnaire. It's a recognition from my country for what I did. But I'm very proud also of that I've been able to grow the companies and have so many good employees, good people with me, without who I would have never achieved what I did.
Yeah, yeah.
And probably didn't get this distinction if they didn't help me to grow these companies. So it's probably a common effort. It's a recognition for someone, but it's also a common effort with many people I like.
Yeah, no, that's good. Now, one of the other areas that we're trying to encourage and promote with the podcast is getting youngsters into the business. All right, so people have been saying, is it sexy enough? Do people understand the business? What do we do? How do we get them in? What would you say now if you were speaking in front, or just say for argument's sake now tonight? So in between doing a few songs, there's a load of young students there, and what would you say to them as why they should consider this as a career for them?
You mean the cargo business?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
or the cargo virus.
The cargo virus. Well, the cargo virus that we got when we were young.
Yeah.
Now, I think one of the things is for the kids is to realize that everything they order on Amazon or Alibaba is coming through cargo. And in a way, they're already in, whether they like it or not. They depend on cargo to get 3 days after the stuff they're ordering. So just this should tell them, hey, it's a good business. It's a great environment, and they're already connected to it, whether they like it or not. This is here.
So touching on e-commerce, personally, I don't think anybody knows what to do with it. So the airlines are struggling, handlers are struggling, forwarders, everybody's struggling. But because it's just like a never-ending cascade of water coming over and keeping everybody wet, they think they're swimming. Now, what do you think should happen to make people, especially in our sector, come together and do something that makes sense from point to point, all the way through the supply chain?
Well, I've been exposed to e-commerce because I started a business late August, early September in Liège with doing handling over at that airport, which is the airport where most of the e-commerce arrive, right? And I think it's a very interesting experience. First of all, it's true that air cargo will be, the e-commerce is, I'm not going to say a savior for cargo because there's a lot of cargo still, but it's something that will continue to boost volumes and to boost the opportunities for the people in the cargo environment. So it has to be seen as a big plus for all of us. And I think that what it takes is to realize that the world that was kind of black and white before, before you had general cargo that was, I would call, fairly slow, moving and fairly cheap. And you got these courier express guys, expensive and fast. Now, there's one struggle today, which is we have to carry the e-commerce at the speed of the courier for the price of air cargo. So in my view, this is the real challenge. And that's what somebody has to take on and understand. This is a completely different scenario from a cost standpoint and also from a work standpoint. The other thing is you have to cope with it. It's there, more and more people. If you really look at the situation and you think about what the past was about express, a lot of the express developed itself based on the failure of post offices around the world, mainly in the US. And today is a big revenge of the post office, a huge one.
Yeah.
Because you can't do any other way than when you send me a CD from, say, New York to Paris, I'm going to the post office and put it in there, and it's going to get to my home in Paris. So it's a very interesting scenario. It's something that nobody really thought about. In a way, what you have is half of your warehouse becoming a sorting area, like in a big postal center. The other part being, the general cargo side where you move the pallets and so forth. So it's a mix of all of this, and that's where the real challenge is. You have to take on, and you have to understand what's going on. The players are different. You're seeing emerging people that you've never seen before. I mean, most of this business comes from China, and then you see emerging people that very powerful people, very massive amount of volumes, and they weren't there yesterday. I mean,
out of the blue, yeah. And you touched on there about the difficulties of splitting the facilities.
Yeah.
Now, lots of people, and you've opened loads of facilities all over the world. Now, one of the things that I'm also looking at now is everybody has rushed to have pharma because they've thought pharma was a panacea for all problems as well, and they've invested so much money. And at the end of the day, it's all about speed, and it's about looking after things as soon as the aircraft lands. So in essence, you don't really want to have huge storage areas in a facility, and it costs so much money. And how are they going to get the money back? Now, how do you see that dynamic?
I think that what a lot of people did not understand in the past is that cargo handling warehouse are just a shoebox where it has to go as fast as possible between city side and air side. That's it. You don't store. You don't put the goods forever inside a shed. You just don't do this because the essence is speed, which is even more so today with the e-commerce. So, yes, investing in pharma and having a place where you can store the stuff for a limited time and be ready to move it to the aircraft is fine. But kind of putting massive pharma things, thinking that it's going to stay in and somebody's going to pay for this, I think it's a mistake. I think that you need to have whatever storage is necessary to make sure the cool chain is respected as far as pharma. But you don't need to be specific. The people anyway who control the pharma. I visited a pharma place in the past, and the people who really control the pharma things are these people who are shipping it. They're the one who decide. They're the one who decide how it's going to be packaged, when it's going to be sent, through which channel it will go, which airline will be picked up. All of this with the freight forwarder partner they usually have. They decide. So, this is really with these people you have to talk with and say, what do you need from us, rather than thinking that putting a big pharma center is the answer. No.
Exactly. And they should be, whoever's representing the product, be looking at off the aircraft all the way through, speed, quickly, get it out, and the other way around. It's crazy. I also think, though, that the pharma product and the pressure that's coming from the pharmaceutical companies is putting a discipline into the business that was necessary.
Of course.
And people can't play around no more.
No.
And you have to do it, and I think that's a good thing. Now, the quality of personnel, when you go all round and you visit every location all over the world, varies hugely, and the training. How do you think the training needs to be improved, Olivier? Because I'm a big believer now that, and we're talking about youngsters and social media, they don't want to spend so much time in a classroom, and the attention levels isn't as long as it used to be.
No, that's true. Why? Because the world is faster. Because they have access to,
everything,
e-things and everywhere. So everything is fast. Their attention is driven by several things at the same time. It's true that studying, training, learning is a bit different today. Now, we have some good new tools for the training. I mean, all these e-things and
apps,
environment and apps. are great tools. I mean, today you can take your iPhone and learn about something in,
Yep.
you know, when you are sitting in the train, which before you had to sit in the school. So that's a plus, right? Compared to before.
Yeah, yep.
Now, that does not push away the discipline nor the willingness to study. This is what the key, where the key is. But again, you're right. You started with how sexy is our business to the kids, to the youngsters, and I think that's part of the answer. Because if it's a sexy thing, then they will learn about it, they will enjoy it, and again, it's also already part of their environment with the e-commerce and all of this. So, I think on the training, maybe the ways that we conduct things has to be changed a bit. To be more, how do you say, funny in the interaction, more interactive, more,
And also knowing why they do things.
Yes.
And, I think far too often people are told what to do, where to do it, when to do it, but not the reasons why you're doing it.
Well, it's part of learning process in many disciplines, Chris. When I was a kid, I was going to the physics and chemistry courses. The funny thing is, I think after 3 years, I knew everything from, movement to relativity, right? But I didn't know how to change a plug into my apartment, right? But I studied electricity. I knew how you put things in parallel, how you put things together. But I couldn't change this. And this is what is lacked for, and I guess it's almost many places where you learn things, but
you don't know why.
You don't really know why.
Yeah.
And if there was more, there was more value to what you do by showing you what is
practical.
the purpose of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Then kids get interested,
Yeah, and
because
then you know why.
they understand why they're doing this.
Yeah. Now, everybody knows that you had a little vacation, shall we say?
Yeah.
A little return to the things that were important to you,
best 2 years of my life.
A recharge.
Yeah.
Now, obviously I know probably a bit more about you than most people, but you've got huge amounts of talents that nobody knows. So from playing, look how many instruments you play.
Yeah, I play guitar, I play drums, I play harmonica and saxophone. So,
What's your favourite? I love the saxophone.
to be honest, out of the four, I love harmonica because I was a guitar player and I wanted to play blues. Because when you're a guitar player, you want to play harmonica. But the one out of the four, the one that taught me the most and learned me the most about music, maybe strangely, is the drums. Because the drums is the beat, and the beat drive the whole music. Without the beat, everybody plays around the beat, but without the beat, there's nothing. And the beat, at the same time, it gives you the discipline, to play with others, because you drive them. And if you don't drive them right, the song is wrong. Everything is wrong. Additionally, the beat is also beat of the heart. It's a very interesting instrument. And I felt, because I went to do drums, I was already 50 gone, I mean...
Well, before you started to play them?
Well, yeah, I started very late. I started about 7-8 years ago, so I was like 52. And I felt that at my age, I would not be able, to have these
hand
and feet doing things different together. And I did. And it's discipline, it's learning, it's a bit tough. You spend a lot of time, trying to get it. But when you do it, it's just great. Because as soon as you put the beat, then everybody is in. And I think music is also something great for the kids, because all my kids play music. My two elder ones play drums and guitars, and we play together. The little one now start to sing and play guitar. My wife play piano, although we don't really play the same thing with my wife. She plays more quiet things. We're more on the AC/DC side with the kids than anything else. But I think music is something that put people together. I noticed that when you're a musician, people easily comes to you. Because you put a guy on the beach and play guitar, then you can see people coming.
Oh yeah.
It's very attractive, warm things, that being a musician, because people comes with you and start to sing and drop their maybe restrictions about music and feel free to do things which they never did before. Would I thought I would be able to sing and play guitar and play drums? No, but I did. It's just fun.
I would love. That's one of the things I would love to do. Sing. Like all my family in Ireland, they can all sing.
Yeah.
And in our family,
everybody can sing, Chris.
No.
Yeah, you can. I'm sure.
Olivia.
I'll take you in Paris with play guitar.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
And we'll do that.
All right. We'd soon clear the place. I'm telling you. But we had another drummer. It was a surprise. Omar Hariri.
Yeah.
He also plays drums.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you could, if there was a band now and they said we've got a set of drums, you could just go up and you could play with them easy.
Yeah, some of the music I know, of course, because you never learn all the songs. Now what you learn is beat for rock.
Yeah.
Rock beat is it's not really complicated, except a few ones which are a bit more. The guys who were drumming for example, the guy who was the drummer of Led Zeppelin was a very special guy, Bonhams. So was the guy from The Who. Was a very creative drummer. And also people tend to think...
The Who, that was what, Moon, was it?
Yeah, Keith Moon was a great drummer. It's very unusual drummer.
Crazy man.
Yeah, crazy man. It was crazy, that's true, but he was a very unusual drummer. And... the one that, everybody thinks, well, he's just playing easy and he's not a super drummer. So to say funny enough, was Ringo Starr. But everybody's wrong. Starr was absolutely great drummer. Why? Because he was the only drummer who could play the drums with the Beatles, which songs were, very creative.
Yeah.
So people tend to think that Ringo Starr was not, kind of a super drummer, and they are very wrong. He was a super drummer, a very creative one and a very smart one. That's why the Beatles changed, because he was not the very first drummer they had.
Yes,
When they were in Germany.
Yep. Cool. Imagine how the first drummer felt.
Well,
my God, what a change. So during your vacation,
yep.
You've also got a library cum restaurant.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, this is a bookstore that was belonging to my in-laws, and I felt, my wife wanted to continue the family things, and it was a bookstore originally, which turned into a bookstore and restaurant, which combined the ability to have lunch and read books and buy books, and it's doing well. Usually bookstores tend to struggle almost everywhere.
Yep.
But, the fact that there is a restaurant at the same time, the fact that this is a very warm environment, people tend to come. It's in a neighborhood where people don't have many things to do, so they come there. And the other thing is, to keep the attraction, we have, famous French book writers, or sometimes foreigners like Douglas Kennedy, these kind of guys. They come and they sign their books. So a lot of people coming at that time to buy the books and get the books signed by the authors.
Very good.
So
one of the things we do as well, Olivier, talking about books, is throughout the course of the session, I try and come up with a title that I would put for your biography. So no, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But I'll come up with
You
it.
should.
So we see what happens at the end of it. Now, during your 2 years, what made you, because you've done everything that you need to do, as you said at the beginning, you're a man of wealth and taste.
Well,
so you don't necessarily need to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So what inspired you?
Well,
what was the engine? What's the oil and the
well,
fuel
for
in
taste
the engine?
is what I want to make sure is, I just introduced myself by saying that because it's related to the Rolling Stone story. I would not like to appear unmodest, which I'm not. I mean, I'm not arrogant. I'm proud of what I did.
Yeah.
But no arrogance in any way. I did a lot of things. True. I mean, I could probably do other things. You're correct. Why? I mean, the virus is there, and the other thing is
So like
also,
malaria, it keeps coming back every now and again.
well, you follow the industry. You first of all, you have friends in this industry. You don't spend 36 years without having friends.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you keep hearing about things. And the other thing that really pushed me is also this challenge linked with the e-commerce.
Yep.
I think it's a massive revolution for air cargo.
Yep.
And I felt, I had time to think about it because I was relaxed. And sometimes it's great to be relaxed because when you're running a big company or small or medium, you're every day in your stuff, like we say in France, you're every day in the stuff of your bike, the head,
Yeah, and you don't see
head down,
anything
you don't
around.
see anything around. When you're relaxed, then you have time to think about, hey, what's happening? What's next? Is it a revolution? Is it new? Is it something that nobody was expecting? Is it a quiet road? Is it a tsunami? It is, in fact, a tsunami, if you want my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's probably what brought me back. The fact that I kept many friends in this business and which are people I enjoy. I have to thank all the people that kind of welcomed me back, because sometimes you would expect after being away for a while, or even though you don't show up anymore because obligations are what they are, people tend to maybe forget about you and so forth. So many friends, so many good people, so many very welcoming people, and I'm so grateful of all the people I've seen since I'm back.
Yeah, no, but you've done a lot, and you've done a lot for a lot of people in the industry, Olivier. So why not?
It's an industry where the friendship, the fact that you know each other counts.
Yeah.
It's a people business.
Yeah, it is, and at the end of the day,
that's great. But again, I'm very thankful to all the people that welcome me back, and it's very nice.
And you're starting to get a little bit of a name and a reputation as Mr. E-commerce now.
Well,
So,
I was invited for a few sessions on the e-commerce, including World Cargo Symposium. I'm going to do also something for the Air Cargo Americas. Am I a specialist of e-commerce? I wouldn't qualify me as such. I just, I think it's an interesting change. I think it's great, news for air cargo and for people who are doing cargo handling. But honestly, what I am is I'm a cargo handler.
Yeah.
This is what I did for all my life. This is what I know best. Does that mean it helped me to think about what's happening, because I know how the pieces arrive. I know how they go. I know. And it gave me, all these ideas around e-commerce, but, I'm a cargo handling guy first.
But it's also funny, isn't it, how people are now talking about last mile, first mile, basket values, what do you do with the returns? And now, something I thought would always come is blacklisting people who just always return too many goods. But I think that's right. I think that's a good thing to do.
Yes. Well, I don't know much about this. Whatever I order, I never return. Or the only time I
so you'll end up getting loyalty points from someone one day because you're a good. Yeah.
Well, I'm a good buyer on Amazon or, I never return things. The only risk I have is when I don't receive it at all.
Yeah.
Because somebody took it in the
Or
meantime.
they threw it over the wall when they couldn't get into you. Yeah.
Well, that's the story of air cargo as well.
Yeah.
Pieces that goes to some place they were not expecting to go. Yeah.
And now, let me just ask you something else, a little bit off the wall there. Now, if you decided now to take another break and come back in 5 years' time, how do you think everything would look in 5 years?
Very different. I listened very carefully to the conference, in Singapore on the e-commerce side.
Yep.
And again, players not the same, new people, very powerful people.
Yeah.
And one of the presentation was saying that, e-commerce will be probably 70% of air cargo in the coming 5 to 10 years. So that means the world will look completely different.
Yep.
And that's probably why I should stay now, just to make sure,
That you're
I
here.
keep track. Otherwise, I think in 5 years I'd be lost.
Yeah.
And because our world will have changed.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important.
And do you think now? I mean, personally, things are not good at the moment.
Yeah.
And most areas 15-20% down, and it's a bit of a shock and it's a bit of a concern. So people are going to have to go through a sort of a realignment. Some people should anyhow have a contingency. There'll be redundancies, there'll be cutbacks, but there's also going to be the e-commerce, which is still growing because of the way populations are and poverty numbers aren't the way they used to be. So it's a little bit of a safety net for what's happening.
Correct. And I think this is a good safety net, because if you think about and compare some stuff that happened in the aviation in the last 40 years. I've been cargoing for 40 years. If you look at the air cargo trend, it's been way over GDP.
Yeah.
Way over. Always growing. Sometimes down 2008, 1991 with the first war in the Middle East. But it always recovered. 9/11 has almost no effect on cargo because it was just a plant where nobody fly for a week, but cargo catched up all the time. Passenger you can't replace, but cargo will wait and go. No, I think that this year is down. Yes, but 2017-18 were exceptional year for everybody. Now, what people need to understand in this business and is not to be imprudent, right? Is that the right word? Yeah. Imprudent. It's not because everything is, loud and clear and nice and sun shining that it will last forever. These things never last forever. So you have to prepare yourself with plans, with buffers.
And do you think people genuinely, Olivier, because you're talking about 2017-18, I mean, more people than not did not see that coming.
Well,
the last quarter, August, September, and then the last quarter, they weren't prepared. And then there was problems. Warehouses were congested.
No, but I think
lack of capacity.
Yeah. The warehouses were back at. You're right. And while at the end of 17, it was such a mess because so much volumes.
Yep.
Well, too bad if people don't pay attention to these things. But what I learned, starting with a very tiny company. And a big and growing into a big company, I learned that whether you're big or small, you're always fragile.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're big that you're not fragile. And on the contrary, if I was to use a metaphor, when you want to get on the roof of your house, you need a ladder, right?
Yeah.
To come down back, you don't need a ladder. You can go much faster down. Than up. So I tend to tell people, be modest, be, careful, be watching what's happening around you because things change.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're big and pretending to be strong that you're going to last. We have seen massive companies disappearing, especially in a world where this e-commerce is coming. The world is upside down. The Uberization is there. Many things are changing.
Yeah. And
some big companies suddenly,
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? And also the name Uber.
Yeah.
I mean, what did it ever mean? Now it's part of everybody's.
Yes, everybody uses it. That's right.
Airbnb. Right. It's another one. It's amazing.
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, it became the kind of the reference to everything.
Yeah.
Now, did I bought any shares from Uber when they went? No, but I think it's crazy to buy shares from a company that is losing $5 billion. Yeah, I mean, this is where the excess is.
And I can never understand that.
Yeah,
and always on the future. Same as like Tesla.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy what happened.
It's crazy.
At least they've picked up a little bit now, but.
Well, but I think it's the Uber story is kind of crazy, and I think that people who thinks that our world is just a financial world are wrong. Because behind business, behind money, behind cash flow, there's good companies or bad companies.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah. And there has to be entrepreneurs, and there has to be people who have the right ideas to bring this business up. Again, I think there is a a lot of excess into these IPOs sometimes. And
Yeah. You're talking about like people and entrepreneurs, and coming back now to the harmonica and the saxophone. My son played the saxophone,
yeah,
and I loved it. I was because I just think it's such a cool. And do you know what he did? When he went to university, he needed some money. He sold it. I was furious. I couldn't believe it. Such a beautiful instrument.
it's a beautiful instrument. That's correct.
Yeah, but knowing him, he probably had a couple of good nights out on it. So I probably would have done the same.
Well, but at least he learned.
He learns.
You can always buy another one.
Exactly. No, I'd love
He will never that's the important thing. He will never lose what he learned.
Yeah.
That's what the good thing about music, And when you're down or when you are, playing music is such a relaxation.
Yeah.
And
even listening to it.
Yeah.
So come to that now. If I was to ask your wife, okay, what is the song that no matter where he is, he's up out of the chair and he wants to dance, it just changes you. What's your song?
My song is because it combines everything. It combines the calm, and it combines these kind of, uprising sounds which became rock and roll at the end. Is Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, because it has everything. For 3 minutes, 4 minutes, just the guitars and a quiet voice, and some flute. Then starts the drums after 4 minutes, and the drums become so powerful at the end, and the guitar accelerates, and the people keep singing. It's probably the nicest song one of the nicest songs I've heard.
So we've come full circle. We started with Sympathy for the Devil, and now we're on the Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
So we've
Heaven.
We've covered everywhere, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Up, down. It's a very
Up
fine
and down,
balance.
Yeah. Stairway is probably my favorite song there.
And bucket lists. Anything now that you, Olivier Bijaoui, would love to do that you haven't done?
I enjoy what I've done so far with the family, with the music, with the business, with the things. Because I was in that business. I got another virus, which is traveling.
Yeah, it's great.
Like all of us. I think that there's always a time we want to jump into an airplane, and something that I never lost is, let's say I'm in any airport. If there is a aircraft landing, I'll be watching it. Just like the first day I was in Orly Airport when I started my career. I think that there's a few places I want to go, which I didn't go so far, and I want to bring my family and South America, for example. Although my kids went there, I didn't. So I'm a big traveler. There's a few things I still want to go or do on that side. I probably would like to learn another instrument.
So, which one?
Well,
the piano, like the wife, huh?
Piano, yeah, because piano is also
it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful instrument. But there's very interesting. What I like, I have to say, I like the organ more than the pianos, because some of the sounds. I'm a fan of the 70s, okay, and this is when really you have heard the best pop rock music was created at that time. So I think as I got older, I will try to do more and more music. No question about it.
And where do you? What are your goals now or ambitions?
Well, I started this new venture with International Airport Services, France, Spain, Liège, and working also in UK and some other place with friends, partners, and so forth. Yeah, it's first of all it's kind of interesting and funny to be back and dealing with what I would call the human company. It's not that the big ones are unhuman. I mean, of course, they're good people there as well.
It just becomes such a big.
But such a big, that you don't see the same things every day. You don't know everybody in the warehouse anymore, which with small ones, you do.
Yeah.
You can go and say hello to everybody. And it reminds me of, my 80s, late 80s, and it was great, and that's what I enjoy, I have to say.
Yeah.
Again, it's a people business.
And your dad still, is he involved in
My
any way?
my
or-
dad still have the virus. He still works with a GSA in the US, and I'm trying to quiet him down, but I can't.
No, he should never do that. Never do
Oh
that.
no, I'm not. Again, first of all, he's such a character that he will never let me, quiet him down. That's the problem.
No, but that's
But I owe him a lot.
No, I'm sure he's very proud of everything that you've done, Olivier. Right, we're getting to the end of the session now, and like I said, I'll try and come up with a title. I think I've done it already, which is if it was your book, and if I seen the title on the book, it would be The Cargo Virus: Sympathy for the Devil. And I would definitely open it up to have
Saying
a look
that the
at
cargo is the devil, then.
it all depends. all depends. All depends.
All right.
But no, I think that's and it also suits you and everything that's happened.
But it's driving also all of us
Exactly.
to heaven, right?
Yeah, eventually. Every devil would love Stairway to Heaven. So maybe that's what it is. It's lovely to have you back.
Thank
And
you.
always admired what you've done, and got a lot of respect. Now, if anybody wanted to get hold of you, obviously not your personal email, but how would they get hold of you? And if they're listening,
I'm on LinkedIn, and I always answer messages. That's
Yep.
connections, and I give my card to many people, during these 2 days, so everybody know where to find me. And I'm very, I'm certainly happy to meet.
That's the one good thing. When people give you so many cards, I was talking to somebody last night at the event, and I won't say who the other person was, but oh my goodness me, dull as ditch water. And then they asked me for a card, and I felt like giving them somebody else's card so they wouldn't get in touch with me.
Well,
But a good
but
event
for the first 2 days, I brought many cards with me, but every single day I run short of cards.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So that means I'm not even able, or maybe I'm getting too old, to know how many cards I will distribute.
No,
That's
but
fine.
But that's also. But the show's been great, isn't it?
Yeah,
with
the
numbers?
show's super.
And the fact that it's spread over now into
Yeah,
almost
and
half
when
another hall.
yeah, and when you think what it was about, 15, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
it's great.
It's incredible, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris.
Oh, very quickly, could you just plug in your restaurant? The name of the restaurant? Because I don't think I heard it.
The name of the restaurant in Paris.
The library, the bookstore.
Yeah.
No, what's the name of the bookstore? It's a bookstore named Nicole and Katya. Katya and Nicole being my wife, and Nicole being her mother.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And for anybody that would have listened or seen Olivier, we'd love to hear from you after he does his performance this evening. And the name of that restaurant is?
It's an Italian restaurant nearby the school. To be honest, I don't remember the name of it. It's a pizzeria very close to, it's very close to Le Bon Marché, which is very famous in France. I don't remember the name, to be honest.
Well,
I know where it is, so I'll go there.
I certainly hope to hear you one day.
Well, you'll be
Playing-
most welcome.
playing everything.
I will give you
the.
the dates of the jam session and the one at the Meyer House, and you're my guest anytime.
And I might even come along and sing.
You will come and sing "Sympathy for the Devil" with me.
My
At
God.
least ooh, which is easy, right?
Oh, I could do that. I could do that. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Good one.
Thank you, Chris.
Olivier, thank you so much. Good luck with everything, and it's been a
Thanks.
pleasure as always. Thank you.
Same here.